Hello. So, I've read your book, I really enjoyed it. I wondered why the title.
Well, the book, as you know, is mainly about three people. My father, my mother and my maternal grandmother. And in different ways, at different times of their lives, they had to leave loved ones and move across the globe, really, and settle in a new place. And sometimes they had to leave twice. So it is a story, or a number of stories about loving and leaving. And I think that's a common experience of migrants and refugees. So I just wanted to say that too.
Okay, yeah. And is there, that you have various nice family photographs in the book. Is there one particular one that is very important to you, or to the whole story, or to even the start of it all?
Well, all the photographs to some extent are really useful and were important to me, but I suppose the main one was my wedding photograph, my 1963 wedding photograph, which was posed beautifully as an ordinary wedding photograph, and yet hid all sorts of things that I didn't know about until much, much later. So it was a very carefully contrived event, and it was supposed to look like an ordinary wedding, but in fact it was very, very contrived to do that. So that, for me, and it introduced the main people in the story, introduced my mother and my father, as well as me. So that is a very significant image for me.
And in a way, there's lots of hidden stories in that picture, which we, the reader, now can find out.
Yes, yes, and a lot of kind of hidden secrets that some people know and some don't. Some are much more knowing. And one of the things I found as I wrote about that picture was how angry I was at being kept in the dark as a young woman just about to get married.
And was your anger directed at your father or your mother, or what was it?
I think my anger was about them all, and all that generation who knew, and I'll have to reveal the story, that I was illegitimate, but didn't feel, for some reason or other, that at 18 and just about to be married, I couldn't be given that information. So I suppose my anger at the picture and the wedding is that how ignorant I was and what a fool I feel now, retrospectively, because I was one of the only people at the wedding who didn't know that.
In fact, your husband-to-be knew it.
My first husband-to-be knew it, and one chapter in the book is a letter, is built around a letter from my mother to my husband-to-be, explaining, because he had to know, presumably because she didn't want him to think I was tarnished goods, that I was illegitimate, and she also made him promise not to tell me. So I'm angry with him too, but the funny thing about that was that it wasn't important to him. It was much more important to my mother. It was not important to him because it was the 60s, and who cared in the 60s? It was exotic.
Yeah.
So he forgot about it, and it was only much, much later when he found the letter, which I didn't know existed, and sent it to me, that I actually knew of it. So it's been a kind of wheels within wheels within wheels in trying to tell these stories.
Okay. And why are you trying to tell these stories now?
Well, I mean, I've talked a lot to my family, to everybody, about how I must find out about why my mother came to London, why she was a refugee, why she escaped from it, and how she escaped from the Nazis. So I had that on my back burner, and I realised that a lot of the people who might have explanations might have been gone if I didn't do something quickly. I mean, the main characters were already long gone. They died some time ago. But there are a lot of people still around who knew them, who met them, who knew my mother, who knew my father. Not many who knew my grandmother. And so it was important to talk to them before it was too late. I suppose other reasons are that I had a bit of time in my life, and also I actually had the opportunity to travel, and I travelled to the places where my family came from. I travelled to Brody in the Ukraine. I travelled to Łódź in Poland. I